From Hollywood's golden couple to a messy fallout, the truth about Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, and August Alsina is finally coming to light.
And so I'm gonna be honest with you. I am extremely happy that Will is finally waking up and seeing this for who she is. The PR of it all, the life partnership is not working. He has a woman that he's in love with, and she is not Black. And he is now talking to lawyers. The issue, and so he is setting up to divorce Jada.
For years, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith were seen as the ultimate example of Hollywood love. They built their reputation as a strong, united couple who could survive the pressures of fame, money, and constant public attention. But beneath the surface, their marriage was far from the fairy tale people believed it to be. The first real cracks began to show during the infamous Oscars scandal, when Will shocked the world by slapping comedian Chris Rock on stage. At first, it looked like Will was defending his wife's honor after a joke about Jada's shaved head. But when Jada later revealed in interviews that she and Will weren't even together as husband and wife at the time, the public's sympathy quickly shifted. People started questioning why Will would put his career, his image, and his reputation on the line for someone who no longer saw herself as his partner. That single event changed the way many people looked at their marriage. Instead of admiration, fans saw confusion and dysfunction. The slap became more than just a shocking moment at an award show. It became a symbol of a relationship that had already broken down behind closed doors. Observers noted that Jada didn't publicly stand by Will during the backlash, even as he lost movie deals, brand endorsements, and respect in Hollywood. To many, that silence spoke louder than any words. It gave the impression that while Will was still willing to fight for Jada, she had already emotionally checked out of the marriage. If there was one turning point that completely shattered the public's perception of Will and Jada, it was the now infamous Entanglement drama. Back in 2020, August Alsina, a young R&B singer and close family friend, came forward to reveal that he had been romantically involved with Jada.
I actually sat down with Will and had a conversation due to the transformation from their marriage to life partnership that they've spoken on several times, and it, not involving romanticism. Mm-hmm. He gave me his blessing, and I totally gave myself to that relationship for years of my life.
What shocked everyone wasn't just the affair itself. It was August's claim that Will had actually given his blessing for the relationship to happen. For many, this was beyond comprehension. How could one of Hollywood's most respected actors, the man who had built a clean and powerful image over decades, allow another man to have a relationship with his wife? When Jada later sat down with Will on her Red Table talk show and referred to the relationship as an entanglement, the internet exploded. Memes flooded social media, late-night hosts mocked the couple, and Will's pained expressions during that interview became a permanent part of pop culture history. This wasn't just gossip, it was humiliation on a global scale. Will, once admired for his confidence and charisma, suddenly looked broken and defeated. Meanwhile, Jada's calm and unapologetic explanation gave people the impression that she didn't fully acknowledge how deeply it affected her husband. The fallout from that interview left scars that have never healed. From that moment forward, the world stopped seeing them as a dream couple and instead viewed them as a cautionary tale. The entanglement wasn't just a private mistake. It became a public spectacle that stripped away the last illusion of stability in their marriage. If the entanglement drama cracked the surface, their books blew the entire facade wide open. Will Smith released his memoir in 2021, where he carefully addressed some of the struggles in his marriage, including moments of infidelity and tension. Even though the book touched on painful issues, many readers felt that Will still tried to protect Jada and their image as a couple. But when Jada released her own book in 2023, the tone was completely different. She didn't hold back. In Worthy, she revealed that she and Will had actually been separated since 2016, long before the Oscar slap and long before the public even suspected trouble. According to Jada, their marriage had been broken for years, and they were only holding on to a life partnership rather than a real romantic relationship. This confession shocked fans, especially because the couple had spent so much time trying to present themselves as united. It raised serious questions. Why would Will risk his career for someone who had already emotionally and physically distanced herself from him? And why had they continued to publicly play the role of husband and wife when, in reality, that bond no longer existed? What made Jada's revelations sting even more was her vow that there would never be a divorce, no matter how unhappy she felt. For many, it sounded like a trap, a vow that kept Will tied to her image while she openly admitted her dissatisfaction. Together, their books painted a picture of two people living separate lives, yet chained together by promises, reputation, and a shared brand.
Dear Will Smith, someone has to say it. Jada don't want you no more. You know, when she bought the farm in Maryland and she decided that that was going to be her thing, you should have left her right here in the good state of Maryland. Let me tell you why. I think Jada married Will because obviously he was like a great catch, right? It's Will Smith. He's on the precipice of being this major superstar. He accomplishes all of those things. And I think she was pressured from family and friends and outside influences. I don't think it's what Jada wanted to do. Jada is not happy with herself. I think now that she's promoting her book Worthy and she's getting more in depth about her relationship with Tupac, that was platonic. But at one point he did ask her to marry him. She turned him down. So then he friend zoned her. I think that's one of the biggest regrets of her life. And so Will is paying for all of that because Jada picked her second choice. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's the consolation prize. Like, okay, I'll take Will.
One of the biggest criticisms Jada faced came right after the Oscars scandal. While Will was torn apart by the media, suspended from the Academy, and losing major roles, Jada chose not to defend him. Instead, she publicly distanced herself, reminding everyone that she and Will were no longer truly together. For many fans, this silence felt like betrayal. It's one thing to disagree with a partner in private, but to remain so detached while the whole world mocked and criticized Will made people believe that Jada had already checked out emotionally years earlier. Meanwhile, Will still seemed committed, always speaking about her with love and showing support, even as the internet dragged him for standing by her. This imbalance in loyalty didn't go unnoticed. Commentators pointed out that Will was always the one sacrificing his image for Jada, while she rarely seemed to shield him in return. The slap, in the eyes of many, became the ultimate proof that Will was still trying to fight for someone who wasn't willing to fight for him. On social media, memes and think pieces poured in. Some fans accused Jada of manipulating Will, while others said Will was simply too devoted to walk away, even at the cost of his career. What became clear, though, is that the public's perception of Jada shifted dramatically. Where she was once admired as half of a Hollywood power couple, she was now seen as the partner who had abandoned her marriage long before the world realized. As the cracks in his marriage became impossible to hide, Will Smith began stepping into a new chapter of his life, one that didn't include Jada at the center. Recently, he was spotted performing in London, where he surprised fans with live music and high-energy appearances. What really grabbed headlines, however, was his growing closeness to Spanish singer India Martínez. Photos and videos showed the two together on stage, getting very comfortable in front of an audience. At one point, India even appeared backstage, leaping into Will's arms like they were more than just professional acquaintances. Fans immediately began speculating that Will had found a new partner, someone who brought back his confidence and happiness. For many, the contrast was striking. While Jada was promoting her book and opening up about long-standing unhappiness, Will seemed lighter, freer, and more energetic than he had in years. It was almost as if stepping away from the shadow of his broken marriage gave him room to breathe again. Of course, rumors started flying that Will's connection with India might be the final straw for Jada. Some reports even claimed that she saw his public displays as a betrayal, even though she herself had admitted they'd been separated for years. The irony wasn't lost on fans, who pointed out that Will had stood by her during the entanglement, while Jada seemed less willing to return. The same grace. These new rumors only fueled speculation that divorce was no longer just gossip. It was on the horizon. As the cracks in his marriage became impossible to hide, Will Smith began stepping into a new chapter of his life, one that didn't include Jada at the center. Recently, he was spotted performing in London, where he surprised fans with live music and high-energy appearances. What really grabbed headlines, however, was his growing closeness to Spanish singer India Martínez. Photos and videos showed the two together on stage, getting very comfortable in front of an audience. At one point, India even appeared backstage, leaping into Will's arms like they were more than just professional acquaintances. Fans immediately began speculating that Will had found a new partner, someone who brought back his confidence and happiness. For many, the contrast was striking. While Jada was promoting her book and opening up about long-standing unhappiness, Will seemed lighter, freer, and more energetic than he had in years. It was almost as if stepping away from the shadow of his broken marriage gave him room to breathe again. Of course, rumors started flying that Will's connection with India might be the final straw for Jada. Some reports even claimed that she saw his public displays as a betrayal, even though she herself had admitted they'd been separated for years. The irony wasn't lost on fans, who pointed out that Will had stood by her during the entanglement, while Jada seemed less willing to return. The same grace. These new rumors only fueled speculation that divorce was no longer just gossip. It was on the horizon.
Seems like I can't force Will to do anything.
And you and Will weren't together.
We weren't together as, we were family. I was there with him as family, but we weren't together at that time.
Looking back, it's almost hard to believe that Will and Jada were once celebrated as the perfect example of Hollywood love. They built an image of strength, unity, and loyalty in an industry where relationships rarely last. But now that image is gone. What remains is a story of secrets, public humiliation, and a marriage that many believe was never built on equal love in the first place. Commentators often point out that Jada may have never truly wanted to marry Will. Some argue she was pressured by family and circumstance, and that her heart always remained elsewhere, especially when it came to her connection with Tupac. Her own words have fueled that theory, with her confessions about regretting choices from the past. For many fans, it paints the picture of Will as the consolation prize, not the true love of her life. Will, on the other hand, seems to finally be waking up. After years of standing by Jada, even at the cost of his career and reputation, he now looks freer and more alive than ever. His public appearances, rumored romance with India Martínez, and shift in energy suggest that he's ready to move on, whether divorce papers are filed tomorrow or not. Fans are split. Some feel sadness that such a long relationship may end, while others believe it's the best outcome for both. After all, their children are grown, their careers are separate, and the love that once defined them no longer seems to exist. If this really is the end, many would argue it's long overdue and that freedom, not togetherness, might finally bring happiness to both.